describe the phases that I see in a game of hockey. And that starts in like a cyclical view in my head. This is how I like to see it, how I would like to explain it. Um, so you basically go either out of possession or in possession. So in a game of hockey, we've either got the ball or we haven't got the ball as a team. And that moment that we lose the ball or win the ball is a moment of transition. And it can be quite chaotic because we don't really have shape and structure at that moment. And at any one moment, whether we win it or we lose it, we go into what I would call a phase. Now, the phases we can go really quickly between as well. But I do see this interchange of which phase are we in being really helpful as a team to understand, because it really allows us to all follow some similar principles which essentially will help us play the game of hockey. So I'm going to explain these different phases and hopefully it will make a little bit more sense. So let's start in an outlet, which is a create phase. So why do we need to create? Because we're 11v11 on a full-size game of hockey. And generally from an outlet, everybody is behind the ball from the opposition. So we've got to create the opportunity to be able to go forwards and create the opportunity to find an attack. Now, I would call an outlet any kind of dead ball situation, or any moment that you've got the whole team behind the ball and or you've got equal numbers, which is why we make it like an amber moment, because it's fairly equal. There's no real advantage or disadvantage. An outlet and a structured moment could be from, say, our 16-yard outlet, so top of the circle. It could be any dead ball situation in our half, or it could be more of an attacking circle entry outlet, which would be more in the attacking half. Again, could be a dead ball. It could be that we've outletted in a really good way to get to the halfway line, but now we're into a create phase over the halfway line. So it is quite structured. We've generally got people where we would expect to have them, and a good understanding about what structure we would want. Now, we could lose the ball in any moment of our outlet, and we could go into one of a number of different phases. One could be when we're in counter pressure, so we've immediately just turned over the ball, and how are we going to deny the opposition to come forwards, and how are we then going to dictate them into an area of the pitch to make the pitch smaller to be able to win the ball back. So this counter pressure moment is quite chaotic because there's lots of there's no structure to it. We've lost the ball in a certain area of the field, and we need to deny the opposition the route forward. So we'd have certain principles in play at this moment that would allow us to try and keep the ball in a certain area of the field, which allows us to dictate it into a smaller area to allow us to win it. We also could find ourselves in a scramble phase. So if we've lost the ball, a good example would be a centre-back giving the ball to the centre-forward. All of a sudden we've got a 3v1 against us. We're in a scramble defence. The picture is a fire because we're definitely going to be in a fighting fire mode. And instead of dictating to a smaller pitch, we're actually dictating to a small goal. So small goal principle is around us pushing them as wide as possible in the circle, so the angle of which they shoot from is really narrowed, which allows the goalkeeper greater opportunity to save a goal. So we could be in scramble phase, and again there's principles which we would play to, both as a goalkeeper and a defender, around protecting the centre, forcing them wide, delaying the play to get some tackle back and player numbers back. And as soon as we've got numbers, we might move back into a deny phase or even into a dictate phase to allow us to win it. If we do get numbers back behind the ball from this kind of chaotic deny or scramble phase, we could move into a pressing phase, which allows us to dictate a little bit more where the opposition go. Now that pressing phase could be in deep defence, or it could be more of a structured defence from higher up the field. Again, this pressing phase is way more structured. And we could be in a deny, and in this point, instead of denying a forward pass, we're more likely to be denying space, and denying space into certain areas of the field to force and dictate the opposition, again, into a smaller pitch. By forcing the opposition into a small pitch, we allow us the opportunity to dictate to win the ball. And that's the gold star standard of when we're out of possession is winning it. Again, some really clean and clear principles that we could put into the win it phase around clean wins, how we get really good quality tackles to be able to win the ball. That could be through double teaming. Now, all of these phases, deny, scramble, dictate, and this kind of pressing phase, and win ball, they're all out of possession phases. Now, when we win the ball back, we move into in possession. Again, that moment of transition when we win the ball, if we can anticipate us winning it in like the help side of the pitch as we win it on the ball side, that anticipation of us winning it can actually put us into a really good position. If we don't anticipate, and if we don't, or if we're in a really difficult situation, we'd be in keep phase. Now, the red boxes in here indicate we're actually in trouble. It's a difficult situation. So more likely the opposition have the overload and we have the underload. Now, in this situation, we've got the underload, but we've got the ball. So how are we going to keep possession of the ball? Again, there's principles around keeping possession. Things like winning a foul, taking the ball down the left foot of the opposition, left foot leading, left foot passing, taking the ball to space. How do we keep possession, retain possession for our team? We also could potentially, if we win the ball back in a really advantageous position, be immediately into a counter-attack situation. And attack phase is very much we have the advantages. So again, green boxes, the green areas are around where we've got the advantage. So we've got good numbers and we can really look to be clean and clear in our attack phase. Again, there are some really good principles that we have around this. The final phase is score phase. So in hockey, we can be in attacking circle entry, and in the circle, we can score. So the score phase is very dedicated only in possession and only when we get into the opposition circle. So it doesn't matter whether there's players around us or not. As soon as you're in the circle, we can be in score phase because we can get the ball towards the goal. Now these phases, the outlet, create, keep, attack and score, are all the in possession phases. So when we have the ball as a team. And we can flit, as I've already said, between in possession and out of possession in any one of these phases at any moment. So if we think of a game of hockey, we could have a nice, we have the pushback from the whistle. So we are in possession and we would be creating because they're all behind the ball. We could have a great moment where we have an overload down our right-hand side and we turn our create into an attack phase. But then we lose the ball high up the field in a really good area to counter pressure, to be able to dictate them into a small area of the field and win the ball back, which puts us into a score phase, but we missed the goal wide. And so they then have a 16. So we'd go immediately into our pressing phase and trying to dictate them to a small pitch again. If we're successful in dictating them into a small pitch, we might win the ball back, but we might be in a keep phase because they have more players around the ball when we win it. We have some really good play and we manage to get back into some kind of structured outlet. We go back into our create phase, back into an outlet phase. We might pass the ball straight to their centre forward and we end up in a scramble phase, having to quickly close the middle of the pitch and protect the centre. Goalkeeper does really well, makes a great save, and we immediately can get onto an attack phase. It can go that quickly between phases. And getting your team to understand those different phases and the principles that your team are going to play to is really important in how we really move forward as a team to work together to try and achieve the gold standards. Ultimately, gold standard out of possession is to win the ball back, and the gold standard in possession is to score. Now, counter control is a concept that is relevant to these four phases. So deny, attack, keep, score, and outlet or create phase. Counter control is around making sure that we are prepared for if we lose the ball, we have people in place to be able to win it back. Now, it could be that we're attacking down our right-hand side in an attack phase or an outlet create phase, and therefore our left defender covers around more to the middle of the pitch to protect the middle. And then we transfer the ball starts going to the left, so the left defender starts moving up, being more aggressive. The right defender would then, that simple action and reaction to the ball and the help side is counter control. It might be that we were in the score phase and actually the 4 defenders are then all in counter control, because we're making sure that if we do lose the ball, we've got immediately people in place to be able to protect the centre of the field, deny passes forward to allow us to win the ball back. These 4 phases through the middle are very chaotic and unstructured. It's that moment of transition, whether we win it or we lose it. We don't have structure, but by playing to principles and everybody understanding what phase we're in and what we might be looking to do, makes it really clear to help us understand what actions we might take, which allow us to work together to either win the ball back or to score a goal.